Welcome everyone to Mike Motivation. Wanted to have a conversation about self accountability and striving with my struggles. Um, really trying to let anybody that wants to hear this know that you can strive with your struggles, and the the more you can be self accountable about the things that you do, in my opinion, based on my spiritual journey, the better incrementally you'll start to become. You start thinking about things before you do it and before you say it. And even if you say the wrong things, because you're self accountable, you can apologize, repent, and correct yourself moving forward and learn from it when you're accountable. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Maybe three or four slides, and pretty much that'll be it. But as a 40-year-old man, as a guy who grew up small Baptist church in the country, stopped going probably in my 20s, ended up going back in my late 20s. I can tell you that not only is your relationship with God important, it's crucial for your individual development and your individual success, your mental stability, spiritual stability. Um, Having God in your life, in your mind, in your body, in your spirit, will give you a sense of peace that you just can't get by just trying to do it on your own. I'm just telling you from experience. As a 40-year-old man who's been on both sides of the fence, being on that side of the fence with God is always beneficial, but for some reason, as this us being human, this flesh on our skin wants to go on the other side of the fence. And for me, my experience, I think I just got tired of being on the other side of the fence. It just didn't make sense anymore. When you really start to look at the logic, like working in IT and you build programs, you start to see like doing web development, a lot of times the logic and the code that you build is based on something. Structure is based on something that really don't change. And if you go against it, it probably doesn't work. And that's what I like about programming. It's not based on feeling, it's a logic. And if the logic is there and it works, it don't have to change it, only if something breaks. But most of the time, if it's built right, if you start off with the right intention, usually it works. Why am I saying this? Imagine the Bible is like a program, and it works if you apply it to what you're coding to your life. A lot of times we try to bypass it, and that's what we're going to talk about today, and you find out that it don't work. I know I did. I don't know about some people, but I found out that my way of programming, trying to do life, it didn't work. And we're finna get into it right now. But my first topic is, can you strive in your struggles? The answer is yes, you can. But you got to do it with God. Just my spiritual opinion. If you don't do it with God, it's hard because the struggle sometimes can stop you, it can blind you, it can stop you, it can debilitate you. from doing certain things, trying to get to that next level, trying to figure out what the next move is because of the struggles that we all deal with as humans. We all have different struggles, whether it's health, whether it's mental, whether it's financial, all kind of struggles out there. I mean, you could sit and just name all of them, be on here all day naming different struggles people go through. They're general struggles that people go through. But in the Bible, here's scripture, 2 Corinthians 12:9. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. The thing about this verse and the thing about the power that God has, you have to lower your ego and confess with your mouth that I am weak in order to be made perfect in God's power, to operate in God's power. I am weak. A lot of times, most men, that's a struggle to say that because you just don't want to even think that you're weak. But when you're dealing with God, the creator of you, creator of the earth, compared to God, we are weak. In order to be made perfect in his power, in order to receive his sufficient grace, it can only be made perfect in weakness. To say, I am weak and I'm running on God's power and strength because this flesh only can go so far. Limitations. Second part is, therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses so that Christ's power may rest on me. When you can get to a point and you're fine, you can talk about your weaknesses. You don't have to talk about it to everybody, but to yourself. You can tell yourself, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at this, I'm weak at this. And when you do that, and you believe in God and you do that, Christ can come in and strengthen you in those areas. I'm telling you from experience. When I started going back to church, I was in a really, 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 really rough place. Probably at the bottom. But in order for me to go back in the right frame of mind, in the right spirit, I had to be in the lowest part of the valley in order to do that. I had to kill all the arrogance. I had to kill all the pride. I had to kill all the ego. And I had to be in a weakened state. I can say that about myself because it's just the accountability of it. If I would have went back with the wrong mindset, I would have messed up. God knows how to set it up. And he set it up for me perfect. Was in my weakest point. Lost my job. Couldn't find a job. Was looking. Was on unemployment. I think I just ended up going back to school. But I was at the lowest point because I wasn't working full time. I was probably just here and there part time, bouncing around, trying to find a full time job. It was just really hard. It was, like I say, it was probably the lowest point. And I've had other low points before that as well. But when I realized that I can't do this without God, that's when the grace was sufficient and the power of God is made perfect in my weakness. You got to learn how to apply these verses to yourself. Forget everybody else. When you're dealing with God, it's about you yourself and developing yourself with the scriptures and the word of God is your guide or as your program, just like programming, it's your program, it's your code. It works, but you got to believe and you have to apply it. And I promise you, you'll see results. I'm just telling you from experience. If you would have told me that I would get a 4-year degree, take master MBA classes, Masters of Business Association classes, and on the verge of going to law school, Lord willing, if I can get in there, I would have told you that probably in my 20s that wasn't even a possible thing. Like, no, there's no way I could have done that. But when you get yourself in God and let God come into your mind and let his power rest upon you in your weakness, God will show you things that you can do that you didn't even think you can do. He can give you the vision on things to do, and all you got to do is have the faith. I don't know what the future is. I don't even need, when you have faith and you believe in God and you're applying the scriptures the best you can, you're just trying to get better, you don't need to know what the future is. Just know that God got you. Through faith, his grace and his power is made perfect in weakness. My weakness or your weakness. If you can even get yourself to that point, but you have to get to that point. Paul got to this point. He told God, I got a thorn in my side. I'm struggling. And God told him, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. And we have to remember that. We can only go so far as an individual human. But with God, you can go further than you can even imagine. But you got to believe and you got to have faith. Next slide. Understanding self-accountability. Understanding self-accountability. I can tell you many stories about why this verse means so much to me. And when I read it, when I started going back to church, how it helped me to understand some of the things, really all the things, really most of everything, like why I was at where I was at, why I was in the situation that I was in. A lot of times, as an individual, sometimes as a human, it's hard for us to admit that we put ourselves in some of the situations that we're in. But when you read this verse, Proverbs 14:12, if you read Proverbs, it's just full of wisdom and common sense. If you can just get common sense, especially graduating high school, going into being an adult, if you can just grab and hold on to common sense, it will help you in life as growing into an adult. But when you try to ignore common sense, that's when the trouble starts. Proverbs 14:12, there is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. Most of the time when you're young, you don't have that foundation or spiritual support of people teaching you these things, you will experience this. There's a way which seemeth right. It seemeth right. It feels right. It looks right, but it's not right. How do you know it's not right? Well, the results will always tell you that the decision or the way that you chose to go, that wasn't the right way. When I was maybe mid-20s, maybe early 20s, You don't understand when you're young the importance of decision making and choices. And I really try to. That's why on the Think Again podcast, I do this. I really want kids and even young adults to understand that you may not have money. You may not have if you want fame and all that, you may not have any of that. But what you do have is your choices and decisions. And they can either set you up or they can set you back. It's your choice. It's your decision. But there is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. It may not be like actual, dying. It may be other ways, like when they think about death. It may be the death of your freedom because you do something to jeopardize your freedom. Could be the death of your health. You may do something to jeopardize your health. It may be the death of your free time. You get into some trouble, you get into something, you got to play catch up, you lose that free time. But you got to be accountable how you got there. Like for me, when I was at that lowest point, I lost that job working at Red Cross. I had to be accountable. I lost the job because of stuff that I did. I couldn't blame them. I couldn't say the system or they trying to hold me back. No. I lost the job because of what I did. I got the ticket on my personal time, knowing that they had a no tolerance on traffic tickets, being a courier, driving their vehicles. I knew that. Went to the courthouse, actually had the money to pay for the ticket, but instead of paying for the ticket all at once and getting on probation, I got on a payment plan. I should have paid it. Totally forgot about the ticket. I'm talking about totally forgot. I was doing something one day. I opened up my glove box, or it was on my console, and the ticket. I said, forgot. I think it was like I got the ticket in May, and it was probably like maybe July, August when I realized I forgot. How about that? Called, got it taken care of, and paid it. No problem. Thought it was over with, but it wasn't. When they run your background, your driving check, your driving background check, the ticket came up. And when the ticket came up, done, just like that. Because there was a zero tolerance on traffic tickets based on their insurance and stuff. Zero tolerance. Went to work that night, not even knowing. It wasn't even on my mind. Didn't even think about it. Went to work that night. Manager was there. He's never there on a Sunday. Called me into the office. Boom. We went through the process, told me what happened, showed it to me, had to let me go. But when I tell you, that was the most humbling situation of just going through that span of time, the most humbling situation. Because before that, I'm just being accountable. I'm just telling you, before that, I used to always have people tell me, man, you smart, you should go to school. Man, you smart, you should go to school. You should do this, you should do that. And I used to kind of shrug it off. I don't want to do that. That's why I'm so big about education now. Because I know how it is to think that when you work a job, you good because you working a job and you making a little money. But I'm telling you, as a 40-year-old man, as you get older, you want to get into career-style jobs. Because as you get older, the standard or cost of living, it increases. And you want to be able to cover your overhead or your bills and have breathing room to do other things. But if you do not get into a career or a specific field, a specialization that brings value where you can have that, you will always feel like you're entrapped in a box that you can't really get out of because you're only living based on your means of what you have, and that dictates what you can and can't do. So, the danger of rationalizing, I'm going to read this verse in another way. Proverbs 14 and 12. The Passion Translation verse. As I seen it, I was doing some research. And it says, you can rationalize it all you want and justify the path of error you have chosen, but you'll find out in the end you took the road of destruction. When you're accountable, you'll understand this. When you're young, arrogant, like I was young, I was arrogant, used to rationalize, oh, it ain't gonna happen to me. I'm gonna dot my I's and cross my T's. That can't happen to me. Just because that specific result didn't happen, maybe it happened for him, it may be a different result for you. Sometimes you got to be careful about how you look at other people's results and things or how they fail, because the fall may be different for you than it is for the next person. Then you feel like you got so much time when you're young. Oh, I'm just 21. I got plenty of time. But when you go down the path of error and you find out at the end that you took the road of destruction, you realize that time was wasted and you got to play catch up now. Happens a lot more than what you think, but it happens. So when you're accountable, you're an adult, you have to be careful about rationalizing and justifying what you're doing, especially if it's going down the path of error. And sometimes you have to be honest with yourself. And before you go down that path and realize, if I go down this path, is this a path of error or this is a path of success? And a lot of times we really don't know. That's why you ask God, you pray to God to give you discernment to pick the proper path so you can avoid the error and the road of destruction. I can tell you from experience that discernment is a real thing, and it really is a gift from God if you want it. But a lot of people don't want the discernment because sometimes in order to go down the road of success, you're probably going to give up something. And sometimes people just don't want to give up whatever that something is. But in order to be successful, in order to be consistent, you're going to have to give up something. That's just how it works. There is no quick success. There is no fast success. There is a process and maintain of consistency and work to get to different levels of success. And a lot of times you're preparing yourself to be able to match up to the opportunity or be ready for the opportunity when it comes. Because I've been there. Doors, you come to this door opportunity, but you don't have the key to open it because you didn't put in the work and you're not ready. I've been there. And I'm telling you right now, any young person that's listening, if you take advantage of your youth and put in the work and the sacrifice and get that post-education, don't just rely on a high school diploma and be graduated or whatever education or apprenticeship be done by the time you're 25, 26, there are so many doors you can open. But when you don't do that and you kind of get caught up in the folly and the freedom and you don't handle your business, You'll find out that a lot of doors you can't even open because you don't have the key, because you're not prepared and you're not ready. I've experienced that many a time. That's why I'm in school right now at 40, in my 40s, 41. That's why I'm in school right now. Because I didn't take advantage of my youth, did other things. What I can say is I learned about life. I learned about their road of destruction. And thank God, through my weakness, he offered me grace, and his power brought me through, put me back at a stable place. And God can do anything. You can do anything with God. You can. I'm telling you from experience, I don't care what nobody say. You can do anything with God. The more time you give God, the more success you'll start to see. But a lot of times people don't want to give that time for whatever reason. You don't want to give up something. I'm telling you from experience, the more time you give God, the more success you will see if you want it. But you got to apply the scriptures, you got to put in the work, and you have to commit yourself. Will it always be perfect? No. But if you can admit that I'm not perfect, I am weak, that's when his grace and his power comes in to fill those voids that we all have. But you got to admit that you have a void to fill. That's what I love about God. It's about your individual walk. Can you admit to yourself and to God that I need your grace, I need your power, because I am weak? If your ego is too big, it's hard for you to do that. It'll be hard. I'm telling you from a person who had one that was super arrogant. It's hard to admit that you're weak when you're arrogant. But when you come down off that high horse and you realize that without God, without his grace, even in my arrogance, without his grace, I wouldn't be here talking to you right now. Probably be in a crazy house somewhere, howling at the moon or something, or be in the ground, 6 feet under. But God's grace. Last slide. Proverbs 11 and 14. Where there is no guidance, a people falls. But in an abundance of counselors, there is safety. We are living in a time now that people are rejecting guidance. Even if you see that the person is doing good, the person is stable, the person has aged well, for some reason, the society we live in now, people reject it. I can tell you from a person that's 41, I didn't understand this when I was younger. I did when I started getting in my 20s. I started dealing with older people in my family. It's a blessing. Listen to me. It's a blessing to age, to get into your 60s and 70s and see your family and your younger loved ones grow and learn about life and be able to give them guidance if they want it. To be able to give young people guidance if they want it. It's a blessing. That's why you have to be careful about how you put your mouth on older people or say something about older people, because they've been through what you have already gone through. Because there's not a lot of things new under the sun. There's nothing new under the sun. That's in the Bible too. But a lot of times they're not going to be transparent with you because you're rejecting the guidance that they're trying to give you. If you can't even get past the beginning stages of guidance, why are they going to give you or be transparent with you about things that they experience in life. And we're seeing this play out in real life. Where there is no guidance, a people falls. But in an abundance of counselors, there is safety. You have to not reject solid counseling and solid guidance. Solid counsel and solid guidance will help you get to success earlier instead of having to keep bumping your head. You can avoid the path of destruction with solid counseling and solid guidance. A lot of times people are attracted to material things and so-called success, or they base success on material things or cars, clothes, and jewelry, houses, all this stuff. But age and health, it's a blessing to age. It's a blessing to have your health where you can see, hear, touch, feel, walk, and talk, and have awareness or have a sound mind. That is the true blessing. All that material stuff, that stuff come and go. But to have somebody that can tell you about life, how to get through life, how to get through situations, why it's important not to do this, why it's important to do that, that's a blessing. And when you realize that, you try to soak up as much wisdom as you can from older people, if you got common sense. Because some stuff they know, it's not in a book. You can't get this in a book. You can't buy it. The only way you get it is to sit down, be still, and listen, and take in the wisdom from sound counselors and sound guidance, not just from anybody. You have to ask God to give you the discernment to know who is the right or solid counselor or guidance to take counsel from or listen to people. We try to talk about life situations on the Think Again podcast. Make sure to watch that on Tuesdays or Thursdays. Most have been doing for Tuesday because of my school schedule. We try to talk about real life topics that people kind of don't want to talk about or not talking about. We try to talk about those things for regular people to deal with. A lot of times people get stuck on social media, look at the celebrities and the people like that. But what about regular people? When you become an adult, a regular working, functional adult, it's a whole nother world. And people are not talking about that enough, in my opinion. They get stuck on the dating and all that stuff. That stuff don't mean nothing. It's vanity at the end of the day. But in order to have a solid life where it's not mentally taking you down, spiritually taking you down, that's what you want to get to. So, if you like this conversation, let me know in the comments. I just wanted to share these verses. These verses I go through, man. I look at these verses mean something to me because I believe in individual development. You got to develop yourself with the word. You have to apply these things. It's like Legos. You just keep building. Your relationship with God is a personal thing. It's not about everybody else. It's about you and God. And if you're blessed, you'll find solid guidance and solid counselors. One thing I will say, I think as men of my generation, we struggle with leadership. To be able to say that somebody is over me, I submit to leadership. Because if you don't have, like you just said, where there is no guidance, a people falls. If you don't have that guidance, you just left to your own imagination, sometimes you gotta have leadership. This is how it works. If you try to bypass it, you'll find yourself in a lot of situations that you could have avoided if you had sound leadership. I can tell you that being under good leadership is why me and my wife been married for 13 years. Because I had to learn from solid leadership about how to be a good husband, how to be a good leader of the household by listening to his leadership, getting solid advice, solid guidance. But you only get that from leadership. So with that being said, thanks for watching Mike Motivation. Remember, self-accountability, and you can strive with your struggles. You can do it. With the help of God and His grace is sufficient for you, and God's power is made perfect in my weakness, your weakness. But you have to admit, you have to be able to confess that His power makes me strong in my weakness. And with that being said, believe in God, have faith in God. Don't doubt God. Believe in God. Build your relationship with God. Never too late to do. Common sense, sound judgment, discernment, faith in God, applying the scriptures. It's hard to lose, but you got to make the commitment. That's the part, the commitment. That may be my next want to talk about is commitment. What are you committed to? What are you committed to? But with that being said, Mike Motivation, I'm signing out. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think. I really need the engagement. Let me know what you think. What are some of the things you want to hear me talk about? And with that being said, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube. Make sure to keep watching on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. And I'm signing out. Thanks for watching.
That boy is good. Good and terrible.